Guys, I got contacts! Do I look better like this? Or like the... Okay, I think it's about time we talk about Blackbird again. So we covered the first story. This is where it gets interesting, okay? This is where it gets really, really interesting. By the way, for real, actually, like, let me know which you prefer here. I'll do it again. No, I don't want to do it again. Looks weird. Ugh. Can't believe I wore those things. Anyway, the second story of Blackbird is the real Jake. Now, if you've been following along very closely, you know that there is already a character named Jake in this universe. Actually, potentially two, because of course Scott reused a name. I mean, there's like thousands of names, probably more than that. But he can't help but use the same names like 300 times. I don't know what to tell you. However, this Jake is probably different than the one than one of the ones we've seen before. Well, see, the first time we heard the name Jake was in Fetch because Greg, the main character, was babysitting this kid named Jake. That could be the same kid. Or it could be a big coincidence. I'm not sure how... I'm not sure. We don't have enough evidence to really make a solid confirmation there. But it could be the same kid. And the second time we see a kid named Jake is in the Stitchwraith epilogues, where we meet this kid named Jake, who's inside of the Stitchwraith, by the way. You know, this big creepy thing that we've been terrified of this whole time. Yeah, there's just a kid in there. And he's actually, you know, trying to do a good deed. He's trying to collect all these agony-infused objects and get rid of them all so people stop, you know, dying from them. He's doing that. He's a good kid. Along with this other kid in the Stitchwraith named Andrew, who we've also seen in a story that seemed to be kind of dedicated to him and the man in room 1280. In this story, The Real Jake, we cover him, and we get his backstory. Now, this isn't the only this isn't the only thing in this story that we've seen before. This entire story has been told to us before, in, you know, a little bit less detail, in the Stitchwraith story too. I'm not going to go over what happens in there because it's, you know, it's basically just rehashing what I'm going to say here, and it does kind of offer some spoilers for this story. But let me just say this, pay very close attention to some of the details in this story, and also the physical descriptions of the Stitchwraith. And you'll notice some very interesting parallels. So let's get into the story. So Jake is this very sick kid. He has a tumor. I forget what the scientific name for the tumor he has. It's something weird, but he calls it his pine nut because the scientific name sounds like pine nut, I believe. And so he calls it that. He's very unhealthy, and he's being in the care of someone named Margie. And she's trying to take care of him. She's trying to, you know, convince herself that he's going to be okay, but she knows that, you know, he's probably not going to be okay. He's very sick, and any day now he could die. And it's very... Yeah, in case you haven't kind of gotten the idea, this is a very sad story. From the beginning, you know, they're telling you, okay, he's probably not going to make it, but that doesn't make, you know, what happens in this story any less sad. I'd say it's probably the saddest so far. Maybe not coming home. A lot of people seem to really think coming home was sad. I never really thought of it that way very much. I don't know, but we'll see. Let's continue with the story. So Jake is under the care of a woman named Margie, who his dad, Evan, hired because his dad is working overseas. He is a soldier, he's in the military. And so he can't be with Jake enough to take care of him, and so he hired Margie to do it for him. Originally it was just kind of, you know, so she can make some cash, but now she's gotten really attached to Jake, and she's, you know, terrified of what could happen to him. Yeah, so Jake spends most of his days in bed, so you think, okay, this is gonna be a pretty, boring story. Yeah, the only times he isn't in bed is when he goes to the hospital, and the nurses, you know, they check him out, they give him a little checkup, see how he's doing. Otherwise, he's just at home in bed. There's only one paranormal thing that happens, really, in this story. Okay, I guess kind of two. One that seems paranormal, and the other that definitely is. But first, I do need to talk about, so Margie's kind of plan. So Margie, she hopes that he makes it, and she wants him to make it. And so she thinks that if he has enough good memories, if he has enough care and love in his life, he could potentially make it through this illness. Not really based in science at all, but she's hoping that, you know, she can help him by keeping him happy. Because, you know, being just lying in your bed all day, it's not going to be very healthy, and it's probably not going to help you out very much. So she tries to help this kid out, and she's such a great character. And Jake is too, all the characters in this story. So this is where the paranormal part of things begins. See, every night when Jake goes to sleep, and Margie closes the door, she leaves the room, someone talks to Jake. Someone from inside the cabinet in his room. Margie doesn't seem to know about this, and Jake doesn't seem to question it. He doesn't know who's in the cabinet. All he knows is that the name of this person is Simon, and he's a little boy like Jake. And he says that he can't come out of the cabinet, but Jake will be able to see him when he's better. When he's better, he can get up out of bed, and he can go see Simon. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. So through the whole story, right, we're wondering who Simon is. Now, Simon, at first I was very suspicious of him, right? Because who is this guy? He talks to Jake every night, and he asks him, okay, what did you do today? Jake will usually tell him, oh, I was in bed like normal. But then Simon asks, no, what did the real Jake do today? The real Jake, obviously the name of the story, is also what Simon, what he means when he says this is, what would Jake have done if he was a normal kid? What would Jake want to do today? And so they come up with this whole other life for Jake to help him get through this one. Still I wasn't very trusting of Simon. I figured he's probably going to be evil in the end, pretending to be Jake's friend like Eleanor was to Sarah in the second story of Fazbear Frights. What I think is interesting is this happens every single night, and I couldn't explain what was going on here yet. But every night they come, they ask, Simon asks Jake, okay, what did the real Jake do today? And Jake will come up with things like say, oh, I was playing with the neighbor's kids, or I went to see a movie, or we watched a baseball game, me and my dad. So he imagines this life where everything is okay, where he's not sick, where his dad is not overseas, where he's with Jake. And this is kind of the life that he imagines, and the life that Simon helps him imagine. And yet, at least for me, I still didn't really trust Simon. The interesting thing, and it doesn't happen in any specific special reveal, but it just kind of happens. You switch to Margie's perspective of the story, and she just kind of flat out reveals that she's the one behind Simon. Simon is not some sort of paranormal thing, as I hinted at earlier. He seems like it at first, to kind of keep you going, but he's actually a doll that Margie created. Just a normal, everyday doll. She bought a doll, and what she does is she takes Evan's voice, Jake's dad, and she puts a little recordy speaker device in the doll, by the doll, in the cabinet, and then every night, Evan will talk to Jake about what the real Jake did today, but not as Evan, but as Simon. So Margie found out how to do a voice filter and make Evan sound like a kid, like a little boy like Jake is. And then he talks to Jake. It may seem like a really roundabout way to just have Evan be talking to Jake, and Evan does talk to Jake as himself as well, but this is kind of a better way to help him cope, I think, so that Jake can still have a friend. He does have another friend who tries to help him sneak out once later in the story. Doesn't really go anywhere. Margie catches him and he goes back to his bed. Not sure what the point of that was. Maybe just to kind of add a few extra pages onto the story. But we'll get to that in a bit, I think. So Margie kind of reveals to the audience, not to Jake, that this is kind of what's going on. And Simon is just a doll that is in this cabinet, and when Jake is well enough to get better and come out and look in the cabinet and find out what Simon is, he finds this doll. And the fascinating and really interesting thing that happens here is Simon, she bought just a normal blank white doll, but every day when Jake comes up with these experiences that he would like to experience, she will draw on a little piece of that onto this little doll. Now, this is the part where things might start to sound familiar to you if you've been keeping up with kind of the overarching story here up until now. First of all, one time Jake said, oh, he was eating pizza and he got sauce all over his mouth. And so she drew on this doll, she took a red marker and she drew over the mouth. One other time, Jake fell over while he was playing a sport, and one of his tooth fell out. That's what the real Jake did. One of his teeth fell out. And so she blacks out one of the teeth. The other time, he was watching a movie, and he got some popcorn stuck in his teeth. So she puts a little piece of popcorn stuck in the teeth. And sometimes she'll even use real objects. One time she attaches a smiley face eraser to this doll. I'm hoping most of you can see what's going on here. It took me embarrassingly long to find out what's going on here, but I feel like by the end of the story, even if you haven't caught on yet, you will. So at this point, every seemingly paranormal element of the story has just been gone. Now Simon is revealed to just be a normal little doll with a voice recorder next to him. The cabinet has nothing special. But if you read the second Fazbear Frights Stitchwraith epilogue, you know this cabinet does have importance. Jake has importance. Margie has importance. And if you've been following along, this doll absolutely has importance. So what happens next is probably the saddest part, so brace yourself. Towards the end of the story, Margie gets a call from Michael. Michael is Jake's uncle, and he says that Evan has passed away. And he's left the house and everything there, Jake included, to Margie. Margie is devastated. She is just completely, she cannot handle it, which is understandable. And one of her friends, I forget her name, but one of her friends helps her through this. I believe her friend is also, if I remember correctly, the mother of the kid who tried to get Jake out of the house before Margie caught them. I'm not sure, I don't quite remember, but it's not important. Anyway, she helps Margie, but Margie is devastated, and she decides not to tell Jake about this just yet. And she keeps putting off telling Jake about that his dad is dead. She keeps putting it off. She doesn't want to tell him, but Jake does notice something is wrong with her. Something, that she's sad. He notices this, but he decides he doesn't really say anything just yet. So neither of them are talking about the situation. The main reason she doesn't seem to want to tell Jake about this is because, obviously, with Evan gone, Simon has no voice. Simon can't talk to Jake anymore, so she decides just to not tell him what happened, and just that Simon won't be visiting. He's confused that she actually knows about Simon, because he still doesn't know that she knows. But she says, no, he's not going to be visiting. I can't explain why I know about this. She doesn't tell him yet. Jake's condition seems to rapidly get worse. For no seeming reason. There might be a reason, I just haven't gone in deep enough into the story to find out what. Maybe he does kind of piece together what's going on, and it just leads him to just decline. Maybe the whole reason he's been alive up until now is because she's been, she and Evan have been helping him with these happy memories, and it has kept him alive like she thought it would. And now that he, knows something is wrong, maybe he does know Evan is dead, maybe he's pieced it together, now his condition just declines rapidly. And as they're about to take him to the hospital, Jake dies as well. And as they're wheeling him away, Margie is just devastated, but no one notices that the cabinet door is wide open and Simon is gone. And that's the entire end of the story. Nothing happens after that. Nothing in this story, at least. Obviously, this is connected to the Stitchwraith stories, but nothing in this story happens after this. This is the end, and I'm left with a few questions. I'm wondering, maybe, because I'm not sure how Jake's soul was transferred to Simon, because obviously, if you haven't pieced it together yet, Simon is the Stitchwraith, the doll in the Stitchwraith. The smiley face eraser, the seemingly blood around the mouth, that's actually pizza sauce, blacked out eye, blacked out tooth, something stuck between their remaining tooth. It's the Stitchwraith doll. And it's gone. And the cabinet door is open. So there's two things going to happen. Jake opened the door, he found Simon, and he died for some reason. Or he died, he was in the doll, and the doll escaped. I don't think that's quite the case. I'm not sure how it's not, but I don't think it's the case, because Jake mentions in one of the other epilogues that he remembers being a little boy, and now he remembers he's in this metal thing. He doesn't mention remembering being in a doll. Now that could just be to keep the surprise intact for this story, but he never mentions being in the doll, so I think he probably was, but it's a bit weird that he never mentions it. Overall, this story is it's good. Again, it's pretty slow, and it doesn't. I feel like a lot of it could probably have been cut out, but I do think it's a good story, and I've ever since first reading it, I've grown a lot more attached to it. All we know is somehow Jake went from point A to point B. He went from this doll to the Stitchwraith. something happened. Maybe we'll get something that fills in the gaps, maybe in this very epilogue of Fazbear Frights 6 that I haven't read yet. Not sure. Next time we will be going through the third story, Hide and Seek. I've heard mixed opinions about it. I do know one big spoiler about who the animatronic in this one is, and also kind of what happens to the character. We'll see what happens. I'm excited to actually read it. Honestly, by the time this video is out, I probably will have already read it, because these videos come out pretty a while after I actually read the story, so I can kind of gather my thoughts. Also, I guess I need to work on... We're approaching 5,000 subscribers. I need to do something for that. Thank you guys so much, by the way. I need to do something for that before we hit the milestone. I think I'm like 10 subscribers away, though, so I need to probably get on that. In case you can't tell, I'm excited. Thank you guys so much. And I feel like there's be more I have to say about this story, but honestly, I'm not sure. I think that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and next time we will be covering Hide and Seek, which seems to be an interesting one. Alright, bye-bye.